Here are the three beautiful cards we're going to create today for Easter, and I'll show you how I made each one of them. They're all easy to create, and we'll start with this one over here. It's a very simple card. It's a very simple design. You can recreate it with whatever you have in your stash, as always. I just chose a big die set that had these leaves. They already cut into like in mirrored directions. I'm just using some adhesive on the back to keep the die cut in place. I didn't use the details from this die, and I just ink blended the tips in yellow, the rest, the body of the leaves in green. I started with a lighter green on the whole leaf, including the tip, and then a darker green only on the base of the leaves and the stems. And there's also kind of a sprig with smaller round leaves on the bottom, and those I did it all with the dark color. It's gonna look like a hot mess once I finish ink blending. It looks absolutely dreadful, but once you remove the die cuts from the paper that they were die cut from, they actually look very nice. They look exactly how I wanted them to. I wanted them to have like a difference in color. All of the die cuts that I used on this card, and I thought this was the easiest way to do it. I don't like using my sticky mat from my other stamping platform. I'm afraid of it not being sticky anymore, so I don't use that for ink blending. I should probably buy another mat just for ink blend. For the flowers, I started all of them. I chose two different colors. These are the ones I'm coloring yellow. I just came with a lighter shade of yellow, and in the center I added a darker shade. Same thing for the kind of corally pink ones. A lighter color as a base, and then the center I darkened it up. I thought that would give it a little bit of depth. And then we're kind of ready to assemble. This is my card base. It's a cream color. You see here on the right a strip of white cardstock. There it's like a pearl cardstock. I'm going to use that strip kind of towards the bottom of the card, bottom center. And this is all I'm using on my background. It's very, very simple. There's no detail. It's very clean. You could use, like, I kind of regret not using one of those detail dotted plates. I think it will look very nice here, but I forgot. Basically, that's it. I keep bringing my T ruler to see that, to make sure that everything is lined up. The letters went first so I could measure where I wanted to hide the ends of those leaves. I cut them and I separated them so I could spread them a little bit better and they wouldn't be all hidden behind the letters as well. And I glued the leaves first. Once they are in place, like I used adhesive mostly on the center and on the stems so I could bend them up and fluff them up a little. And then I came and I stuck down my letters using that ruler. These letters, they are from an alphabet die set from the Greetery, and I realized that they all had the same height, so I used the T ruler on top above the letters to line them up and make sure that they were all in the correct place. I used a stylus and a foam base to emboss my flowers to give them some movement, some dimension. And then I stuck them all down. And then I'm gonna come and bring some gems to the centers of those flowers. You guys should be proud of me once again because I didn't lose the dots for any of those I's and the J's. I did stack them up, so there are like 4 or 5 die cuts for each letter because I am insane. And I just think that it looks better when it has some dimension. And then here I'm adding those those gems. These ones, they have an iridescent shine to them. I added them to the center of the flowers and I scattered some all across the card. And this one is done. Here I'm going to show you how I organize my cardstock that is colored. So if it doesn't have a brand, if they're all from different brands, I just put them in these plastic sleeves. The ones that are branded, I keep them in the original package, so I know which ones they are. And I keep the entire pages, but also the scraps all together. And then when I need them, like I'm gonna need for this card, I usually use the scraps first. So I chose 9 different shades of cardstock to die cut. Actually, it was 10 because the P, it's 2 different colors. And then here I die cut them all in white, place them around so I could know how much space I needed for that egg-shaped die cut. I ran it through my die cutting machine, and I have this foam adhesive and I have to use it. I don't like it. It's a pain, but I have to use it. So here I am. I used my paper piercer to trace where I needed to cut it so it would line up with the background panel. And then I cut on the outside. So I cut it like way bigger than the die cut that I have on the panel. Then I traced as well to make sure that they would line up and it wouldn't be visible from the sides. And here I'm just gonna double check that they do line up. And I'm gonna bring some acetate to cover the egg on the panel. I measured the size, I cut it down, and I'm gonna use just liquid glue, my quick grab, my trusty white glue. I'm gonna put it around the egg shape and also on the edges of my acetate. That way I know it's gonna be all stuck down. Put it in place, press it down with my bond folder and wait a few seconds and it's good to go. I'm gonna spare you from the torture that it was to remove the backing from this foam adhesive, like rectangle by rectangle. And I'm gonna skip the whole thing and I'm gonna show you in the end how it looks. But it was tedious and it took forever. I hate this adhesive, but it comes with the rolls that I buy. I much rather just the roll. And sometimes it's handy when you need to cover small areas, but when it's bigger areas, it's a pain. But I have an indecent amount of this adhesive and I really need to use it. So here we are. So you can add the sequence you prefer. I have a tiny piece of paper here that I'm going to use. It's the same pearlized paper that I used on my previous card. I'm just going to use it to cover that section to make sure that I can move it around without worrying about them leaking. I pressed it down very well because, as you've seen on my previous videos, I forget to press it down sometimes and I start shaking and everything goes everywhere. So I removed the backing from this side. I'm gonna get my card base, put it down on my stamping platform, and then place the background on top to make sure that it lines up. And it does. So I have this box here. It's a shoe box that it is assembled, and I use it when I have to spray anything. I'm gonna use that die cut egg from earlier, cover the window, my shaker window, and put the card back here in the box. I should have done this before I stuck it down, but of course I forgot. So I'm gonna just use this clear shimmer spray and spray the whole area, remove the die cut, I don't need it, and dry it a little bit with my heat gun so I can stick those letters down. So for this one, I used the ruler on the bottom to do the bottom row, the word Easter, because they were all on the same level from the bottom. And then the top tier, the word happy, I'm gonna actually move the ruler all the way to over the letters, as you can see here. And then I'm gonna stick them down because those 4 letters, they actually line up from the top. and I just thought that was an easier way. So all of them, I'm just putting white glue on the back, put the die cut down, and put the acrylic block on top to hold it in place for a few seconds until the glue dries, and then I move on to the next letter. It's very quick and easy, but it's also very happy. I miss rainbows. I miss color. I don't know where you are, if it's already sunny and colorful and bright, but here it's still rainy and kind of gray. So I miss happy colors, and that's where I wanted for this card. This letter H here on the video, it actually looks like brown or black, but it's actually this beautiful plum color. Um, it's funny, camera doesn't capture things that well. Well, it's a simple card, but it looks very nice, and it's a very happy card. I'm gonna give it to my goddaughter. She's a child still, and I'm pretty sure she's gonna like it. This is the last one. I'm just folding my card base, and I'm gonna use this oval die from Spellbinders. I'm trying to show you here, but you can't see very clearly. That edge of the die is past the fold of the card base. I'm gonna run it twice on my die cutting machine, and it's gonna come off like all the corners, and it's gonna be perfectly die cut. Even though this is a heavyweight card base that I used, it die cut very, very well after I ran it through twice. I'm just gonna use this as an oval card, so I needed the card base to be shaped. I love creating shaped cards, and I also love creating wreaths. So for this one, I'm combining the two. After I ran the card base twice, the front of my card actually got a bit marked and dirty, but it's okay because I die cut 2 extra ovals and I stuck front and back of the card, so it looks perfect. And here I chose a sentiment from this Simon Says Stamp set, and I'm just cutting it, trimming it in half because I wanted the words one on top of the other, not side by side. It just fits my card design better. I'm gonna stamp that, heat emboss it with gold embossing powder. I might not show it on screen, but I'm gonna double stamp it. So I prep it first with my anti-static embossing powder, and then I'll stamp it twice with Versamark and heat emboss it with the gold embossing powder. So for wreath cards, what I really like to do is that I cut different shapes of leaves in different colors. For this one, I used 3 different shades of green. Maybe you won't be able to see very well on the screen, but I did use 3 different shades of green. If it wasn't spring or Easter, I would probably use different colors, different colors. I like to use vellum, I like to use gold. Once in a while I will use teal. It just gives it a different look. I don't know, it looks nice. My card warped a little bit because of the heat embossing. So if you do recreate something like this and you decide to stamp and heat emboss your sentiment, I advise you to do that on the background panel before you stick it down to your card base, because then it will flatten it once you stick it down. Here I did stick my first layer of the darker leaves. I'm coming with the second layer now with my medium color. This is after the third layer with my lightest color. It gives a bit of variation and dimension. Here I'm still embossing the flowers with the stylus, sticking them down, and then adding some gems, just like I did with my first card. Not much new here. And this is my idea. This one is very easy to make as a wreath because you already have the oval shape to work with, so you have to use your elements like leaves and flowers just to follow the pattern. I also added some vellum butterflies. They're very, very tiny, so you might not be able to see it in person on the pictures or on the video, but in person they're very cute. Happy Easter, everyone, if you celebrate Easter. If you don't, then have a lovely week, and I hope you make some cards and you have fun doing it. Please consider subscribing. Bye!